The New World, Peter's Story, written by the science fanfic writer. It had been many thousands of years after the apocalypse happened. You don't know if the planet is habitable yet, or if there's any life left on the planet. You also don't care right now. The drugs used to keep cells from splitting open while you were frozen are also heavily sedating. Chapter 1. The Journey Begins. You remember that you, along with thousands of other people, were shuttled up to outer space to a giant space station to save humanity. You were thawed, before everyone else, along with 5 others to patrol North America, if that is even its name anymore. When the waiting time for the drug to wear off ends, you go to the equipment room to get your suit. You are shocked to see, not a standard issue hazmat suit, but an experimental mechanical armor suit that you designed. It had everything you needed: water, protein paste, rad shielding, a Geiger counter, a thorium reactor to power it up for 100 years, a plasma shield, and a laser? You couldn't understand until you thought about it. If there was primitive life, you would seem like a threat to it and would need to defend yourself. You enter the drop pod. It was a small 15 by 15 space, with a few necessities: a rain collector, heating and AC, tools, extra supplies, and a thorium-powered ATV. You strap yourself in for the drop. Soon, you feel the airlock close, the clamps release, and the decoupling boosters fire up. You feel you just bit off more than you could chew. Chapter 2. The Landing. Everything was dark. You were serene. You didn't like this. You knew you had to do something, but the darkness was killing your thoughts. You didn't understand. You told yourself to wake up. You were startled into a dim light coming through the small hole in your pod. You had passed out after the air leaked out at 10,000. This was supposed to be the communications antenna. You were cut off from the station until you could repair it. You decided it didn't matter. You still needed to get to work. You found small amounts of radiation in the forest you were in. You exited the forest into an area with a soft, short, perfect grass. The radiation was incredibly low here. Strange. You must be seeing things. That looks like a village, you tell yourself. You decide to look closer. Chapter 3. First Contact. Before long, you could see more signs of intelligent life. Gardens, shops, carts, stands, cultivated berries, and real food. You were tempted to take off your helmet and devour the pastries, but you knew better than that. Shutters slam shut at a home behind you. You see an overturned cart and walk over to it. You stop right before you touch it, as you hear a whimper from underneath it. You say it's alright and you just want to help. You grab hold of the 1,000-pound cart and lift. With the help of your mechanical suit, you just manage to flip it over. You stare dumbfounded at the sight of a blue-winged pony staring in your face. And she can talk. Loudly. "Monster!" she screamed and tried to run, but stumbles on an obviously broken leg. You kneel down, take off the exoskeletal arms, and grab bandages from your bag. You then use the high-power laser to cut a piece of the handle in half, so you can make a splint. "I need you to calm down so I can help you," you tell her. "Please, hold out your leg so I can put a splint on it. I don't want to see a creature suffer." You apply local anesthetic to the leg and put a splint on it carefully. "I need you to trust me," you tell her. You pick her up, asking where the hospital is. She points to a large white building in the middle of the city. Chapter 4. The Explanation. You step through the doorway to see nobody there. Of course, you can't help but feel sorry to the poor creatures afraid of everything new that steps through the barrier of shrubbery. You see a wheelchair and decide to put her down on it. You don't know what to say to the poor creatures obviously hiding behind the counter, so you decide to explain. "I'm sorry if I scared you," you said loudly. "My name is Peter, and I come from a space station orbiting the planet. My people were sent there as a last resort because our greatest nations went to war many thousands of years ago. I was one of the 5,000 survivors sent to space to be put into storage until Earth was safe again." At this point, the ponies began poking their heads up above the counter. You decide to take off your helmet. "I suppose you don't know who I am. I am a human. Creatures like me ruled the world thousands of years ago, before and during the war that destroyed us. I come in peace, and I hope you understand that." One of them spoke up. "Why did you attack us earlier?" "I didn't," you replied. "I've been asleep in my pod until an hour ago. You remember your team." "Oh no. I need to go." You begin running back the way you came. Chapter 5. The Battle. Once you get inside your drop pod, you notice everything is a mess from the drop. You don't care right now. You flip the ATV and hope it was still working. You sigh in relief as it burns rubber on the floor. "Thank God," you say. You climb on and ride forward at top speed. "I hope I'm not too late. Computer, send out a distress signal. Computer, enable GPS tracking system." You see 4 blips heading in your direction, and 1 heading away. It is number 4, the only one you didn't see when you were in the lounge. "Computer, show route to number 4. You head towards him. You head into an apple orchard. You are hungry, but you don't know if they're good to eat. The signal cuts off near a barn. You guess he is inside. You enter slowly. "Please don't hurt me," you hear from the inside. I didn't do anything to you." You see a plasma blade appear. Then, a blur. You grab the arms of the armored figure and flip it over your head. "Computer, shut down number 4. It was over. Chapter 6. The Aftermath. You cannot tell what is happening. All you can tell is that you are in pain. You feel trapped by the armor. You take it off and roll out of it, facing up at the ceiling. You cry for help. You feel as the straw underneath you gets soaked with blood. You see an orange pony's figure. Then, everything fades to black. You open your eyes. You look up at a cloudy sky or painted ceiling. You lay on a soft cot with cotton sheets. You feel a soothing warmth where there was only pain before. "You're awake," a soft, deep, feminine voice told you. "I didn't get to say thank you. The name's Applejack." "Peter," you reply, holding out your hand. She takes it in her hoof to shake. "What happened?" you ask. "You had a gash across your back, and that shell you had," she told you. "Thank you for saving me," you told her. "It's the least I could do," she replied. "Where is my armor?" you ask. "My family's cleaning it." "Oh no," you say. "Run and tell them to stop if they value their well-being." "Why?" she asked you. "There is a part that, if handled improperly, will release deadly energy and contaminate people, plants, and anything around it." You tell her gravelly. "Run!" Later, the doctor tells you that the potion had done the work and you were healed. You felt rejuvenated and full of energy. You decide to visit Applejack. You saw that your ATV had not been moved. You did notice that every storage compartment had been opened and that your tablet was missing. "Wow, they are curious," you mutter. It was answered promptly by Applejack, who seems glad to see you. "Please, come in," she tells you. You immediately see your armor in pieces on the table. The gash was only an inch away from the reactor. You were glad that it didn't hit. You walk over to the armor and twist the handlebar of the reactor. You pull and are satisfied to hear the hiss of negative pressure relieved in the slot. It is safe now, but I might actually take this back to my pod to be repaired, you say. Also, I need my device so I can finish my work. What device? Applejack asked. The device that was taken from my ATV from outside. She clears her throat. Apple Bloom, bring Peter his, thing. A small yellow pony brings you your tablet, remarkably dry from being in her mouth. Thank you for keeping my thing safe, young one. She seems afraid of you. You couldn't understand why, until you realized that you had canines, and you were smiling. Oh, don't worry, I won't eat anyone, you hurriedly said to her. I should leave and finish my work so that the rest of my species will live. You leave with your armor and head for your pod. You soon reach your pod. You had found the antenna stuck into a trunk of a tree, and you had just managed to pull it out without the help of your powerful armor. You begin working on the landing formula. Hours later, you finally found the perfect formula. You sent it up to the station. You feel satisfied with your work. You head outside. Chapter 7. The Debate. You hear a commotion from outside. You quickly switch out the bad parts from your power armor and head outside. You see a spot on the twilight sky. You head out into the middle of the clearing and wait. Soon, as the spot grows into a dozen or so medium-sized Pegasi with spears, and 2 very large. You don't know what to call them. The leading Pegasus yells, "Charge!" and swoops down. They pull up as they throw their metallic spears. Most would miss, and the one that would hit wouldn't do any damage, but you caught it anyway. It stopped an inch before hitting your forehead, and you set it down. You thought it was best not to fight back, but wait until they got the message that you were friendly. The darker creature, which stayed behind, yelled, "Enough!" You arm your plasma shield and brace for impact as the Pegasi scatter. You were pushed back as the light bombarded at your shield. It goes dark as the bombardment stops abruptly. You get to your knees and plead for mercy. The White One speaks. Like you granted our citizens mercy, you monster. There was rage in her eyes. Wait, that wasn't me, you tell her. I captured the one you speak of. My student described you exactly, she replied. You won't fool me. This is only armor, you tell her. Here, I'll show you. You take off your helmet and begin stripping the armor off your body. She looks surprised. Just ask Applejack, you say. I saved your life. I don't know what they did with that, man, but I think the approach you took was right. We still want you to leave, she said. Wait! You yell. You can't! We will die if you go back! I beg you, please, let us stay. We will keep to ourselves in inhabitable parts of this land and make do. But you cannot send us back to space. The Dark One looks at the White One. She looks very unhappy. She shakes her head. They look at you. We'll think about it, said White. Thank you, you tell her. It had turned to night. Applejack brought her friend, Twilight, to see you. She seemed very interested in your biology and physiology. In the sky was a light show, as the individual parts of the station burned in the stratosphere, fired their rockets, and launched parachutes. Wow, said the unicorn. What is that? That is the return of my people, you tell her. Suddenly, the primary engine on the largest section stops working correctly, and the station plummets to the ground. Chapter 8. The Crash. You run. You forget why you're running, but you ran anyway. You fall to your knees in front of a blazing ruin. You remember why you ran. You regain your senses and run back to your pod. You quickly put on your armor and hop into your ATV. You drive at full speed to the blaze. Your team has also seen the crash and ran into it. John, Andrew, you clear wreckage into the passenger room in the center. You order. Derek, Thomas, and I will carry the wounded out of the wreckage. Your heart is racing, and you could feel your heartbeat in your head. Applejack, Twilight, go get help. They run to the village to get some more helping hooves. You help with the clearing so that you can get to the people. The fire rages intensely. You could feel the heat through the heat-resistant armor. Soon, you came across a person with a badly gashed leg. You carry him out to open air. You do this with hundreds of other people, never resting, even for a second. The fire engulfs the entire station. You feel as this was a battle you had lost. On this day, 200 people died in a crash. You begin. This was a tragic day for mankind, but the new beginning of humanity. This day will go down in history as the day that humanity was given a second chance to live without war, poverty, or communism. We need to work together so we can rebuild our civilization. All who are with me say aye. You hear the roar of aye coming from a crowd of 4,804 people. All against say nay. Silence. All right. All physically fit men gather into groups of 200 and wait for me to assign you a group job. All physically fit women gather into groups of 100 and wait for an assignment. You were on your way to a new empire. Chapter 9. The Rebuild. It had been 24 hours since the speech you gave, but people were still working hard. You couldn't understand why people were listening to you still, but it was a good thing they were. Buildings had been erected overnight, gardens plowed, wells dug, and trading centers established. People were free to scavenge through the wreckage. But if they found useful equipment, they were ordered to turn it to building teams or medical centers. You had established an agreement with the Apple family. In exchange for your farming technology and most experienced workers, you would receive food grown from the farm. You also made a deal with the mayor. In exchange for materials, the town would receive specially designed computers and machines. After all that trouble, it was all worth it. Luckily, the station's thorium reactor had survived the landing and the fire. So you put it to some good use, powering the entire camp. Eventually, it will run out of fuel, which would render the entire camp vulnerable to chaos. The unicorns may be able to help you keep the reactor running, but that means breaking the laws of physics. You'll figure it out. Chapter 10. The Agreement. You wake up the next day with the sound of flapping wings. You exit your pod and almost fell backward with a surprise as the black and white creatures you fought had landed on the camp. They looked around at the terrible state of some of the people, as well as the packed medical tents. You came up to them. Have you come up with a decision? You ask. They turn around to look at you. Your student told me your names, Celestia and Luna. Yes, she said. We're sorry. All this pain and suffering, so you can bring your people to the ground again. She looks over to the graves dug at the edge of the camp. If you want to stay, you can. You look up to her. Thank you. You burst into tears and wrap your arms around her strong neck. You ran quickly into the other pods, where John, Andrew, Thomas, and Derek were. You tell them the good news, and the pods erupt in roars of victory. Humanity is back. Chapter 11. Unity. It had been a few months since humans were accepted into Equestria. You had been able to replicate the magic that unicorns use with several high-frequency radio emitters. The medical team managed to put the healing potions into bandages, aerosol cans, and lotions. Some people who drank the stream water had developed similar powers to the unicorn and began learning spells. You had been elected president of the New World, and to top it all off, you had been selected to represent mankind in the Equestrian Council. Everything had turned out to be fine. I'm glad we could put that disaster behind us, said Celestia. Me too, you reply. I hope you'll adjust to your new home, she tells you. You focus onto a paper ball on the floor, which then shapes into a dove and flies around the room before going in the trash. I think I'll be fine, you say. The end. Hello, Repony. Snuggets here. Hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, be sure to leave a like, and if you haven't already, subscribe for more readings like this one every Saturday. Alright, that's it for me. This is Snogrits, signing out.